It's been 10 years since Jess LeProtto left the halls of PV. He sang and danced his way into our hearts through the array of characters he portrayed on PV's stage. His talents have long been recognized by casting agents for Broadway and movies. During the COVID lockdown, he shared his journey from student to professional, the secret to his success, and learned about his most recent projects. It's clear that Jess is proud of his Hornet roots and credits PV for giving him such a positive experience on and off the stage.
I started at PV my freshman year, 2007, and I had already done the Who's Tommy, which was the summer theater program production. So that was my first foray into PV theater. And just from the get-go, they welcomed me with open arms as an incoming freshman, and from there on, like, that really started my career at PV, and I did so many shows. I did spring musicals, I did fall plays, I did summer shows, I did a holiday show. They really kept me busy. I have to say the people that are responsible for my time there, Jen Shu, Jeff Budd, Ray Frash, Mike DeLucia, Karen Atamian, all these amazing, amazing teachers who really devoted their time to giving us the best possible experience that we could ever have in theater. And I have to say, like, because I had already done professional theater. As a kid, I did 3 Broadway shows before I came to PV. And in those shows, they were very kid-centric. They were not really, it was just like very much I was playing myself just like on stage, or being something that was very silly or very childish. So PV opened or introduced me to a lot of roles and opportunities that I would have never had done if I had not been at PV. Like, it was just like all the shows that I did there, like The Producers, Damn Yankees, Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, Rent, South Pacific, The Odd Couple. Like, these are so many different, like, roles and characters that I got to play that they gave me the opportunity to. So they set me and prepared me for what was yet to come in my education when I went to Pace University for musical theater major. So they really prepared me to know how to prepare, how to build the stamina to do these roles, and the range and the different styles and score and the different, so many different things that they just kind of threw at us and see what stuck. But it was a great 4 years of just like so many different opportunities and learning curve. Favorite characters, there are so many. I mean, like, well, right out of the gate, my spring musical was Cabaret and I played the MC. So I was like, oh, well, this is gonna really set me up. I don't know. We're gonna see if I can really stay afloat the next 3 years going into because it was from freshman year. I'm like, okay, this is gonna really kind of showcase, or really, this can either go really good or really bad. But that was really one of the game changers, and I think, I really enjoyed playing Felix Unger when I did the Odd Couple for the fall play. I liked playing Pseudolus and Forum. There were so many different roles that, we just kind of played around with. It was fun. It was fun. And sometimes the shows, it was always interesting sometimes, and it kind of prepared me too, like how the dynamic of rehearsals leading up to a show, sometimes things can come together pretty quickly, and sometimes things can come together very late. And somehow, miraculously, they come together. And somehow the audience does not know of any work that went into it, or any stress or anxiety going into it. Like, I guess we pulled it off. It's just like, it's all us. It's all us. Everything is just us. It's bare bones. It's just like, this is what we got for you. And somehow, I think the audiences, like, those 4 years just were like ready for the ride. Of all the different things that I picked up, skill set wise, I've always been a dancer first. That's been my base, my foundation. So I started very young when I was 3. My sister is 3 years older than me, so I picked it up from her. And then I kept with it for a while, and then we just kind of built from there. They knew, obviously my mom and my dad knew that obviously I had an interest and I wanted to keep pursuing this. Whether it was just kind of local or not, they just wanted to give it a shot and see what else they could throw at me. So we went to like different local voice teachers nearby, and then we would start to venture into the city. And then, maybe get some training or lessons there. And then we expanded from there just to kind of see what auditions and breakdowns were available voiceovers, commercials, regional theater, and such. So I think the drive was there. And then I also had performance opportunities because as a dancer, I was a part of a competitive dance team, and we were always on stage. And I was always, most definitely, without question, a ham on stage. So I was so I think just in the sense of being on stage made me feel much more comfortable. I mean, sometimes in this business you meet like people who are so shy, but when they get on stage, like they just showcase like what they really are. So sometimes that was really it for me. That was probably the most comfortable place I could really just let go and just be myself. And then yeah, and then from there it was just kind of building from there, and through trial and error, through many times of rejections, like a lot of times that even as kids happens to adults too. Rejection happens 99% of the time. So I definitely saw a lot of it, but then for all the rejections I got and the one yes I got, I made the most of that one yes and the most of that one opportunity. And my first theatrical professional gig was the Radio City Christmas show in Nashville. It was a regional production of it. So that was like, wow, I really have. If I know how to commit to this with the discipline and the hard work, that I think that really kind of paved the way for me. And then I just had like affection for movie musicals and different films like Sing in the Rain, West Side Story, different Hollywood actors and personas and different styles and such. And I've been a sponge since ever since the beginning, where I've just been immersed with different people and different artists and different films, shows, and such. So I think for that's important for an artist or a performer now. So just kind of be immersed and just kind of know as much as you can, so that you are prepared and that you have something to refer to when you're auditioning for something or breakdown or something. There's always like those are important moments to be like, oh yeah, I can go back and look at this clip and all that stuff. So I've been fascinated with all that ever since I was a kid.
Jess's discipline and hard work
But
is
yeah.
paying off. He recently was cast in Steven Spielberg's remake of West Side Story, which is set to premiere December 10th.
So I'm very excited about that. And then pretty much throughout the whole pandemic, I have been contributing my time teaching virtually for different classes and programs, sometimes in person through with safety COVID precautions. I've done one for a group that's based in Texas. They're a theater group, high school students, and obviously they're eager to learn more. A lot of them are willing to pursue this as a profession. So I've been teaching them three times a week. And I teach them different theater, jazz, and tap as well. Sometimes I do guest speaking or guest teaching master classes for different programs, maybe once a month, once every 2 months or so. So it's great in that regard, just to kind of see what everyone else is up to, and it's this form of education is so interesting because it is remote, and you have to find the ways to connect to students the way that you would do in person, but obviously it's not. It's like it's right on a television screen or a computer screen. So that was a challenge at first to see how I can communicate stuff, be it if I was teaching combinations and things like that. It's not the same, remotely as it is, in a room. But you have to find those moments. You have to find those. It was interesting to find those moments where I can communicate, and like, because also I could be talking the whole class and everyone's on mute, and it's just like I have to see if is everyone out there? Is anyone out there? Can anyone see or ask any questions and such? So that is always the thing that I have to refer to all the time, is making sure that my students are always up to speed and are able to communicate with me, as well for me to communicate with them. I have also done a lot of different content on my social media platforms, done like a lot of different dance clips and videos and short films. Currently working on a few short films right now that we're hopefully going to be shooting in the next couple months. So I have my hands full, which is nice, especially during this time, because I'm sure that as things get back to normal, and I'm sure a lot of people will be auditioning for a lot of shows, and doing an 8 show week schedule, that's already on itself. So for me to have this time now to do other things is really, really nice, and just a nice change of pace for me too. I think for every performer and such, the dream actually, like, obviously there are roles and different characters I would like to play, but those have been cemented by people who have already played them. You know what I mean? So the real dream role is one that you get to originate, that you get to make, that you get to contribute yourself into, that you get to portray as the character, and then it's, I think, and then you're the reference for a person, for a student or a young actor. If they're playing that role, that you're the originator, you're the person who played that part originally, you played that character in that role originally. So I think that's always a dream, to have something to originate that you can put your stamp on, and then for people to refer to and follow as a guide. As I think it's also special to know that if there was a role that I can originate and contribute, that someone else can be like, oh, I had to look at Just LeProtto because he originated that role. It's always interesting because I've been blessed to work with great directors, and some people who I would never even think of in a million years to ever work with. Like, if you told me one day that I'd be working with Robert De Niro as a director of A Bronx Tale when I did it at Paper Mill Playhouse, I'd been like, get out of here. That is not happening. Same thing would have applied to Steven Spielberg when I did the West Side Story film. Like, I would have never thought in a million years that I would be working for him. So I think there are definitely some people, like, I mean, in all mediums and such, like, there are certain choreographers I love to work with. There are certain dancers I'd like to work with. Some, legendary actors and such. But sometimes I think sometimes the best people that you get to work with that you never are the people that you never even think of, that you least expect. So I'm like, I'm sure one day I'll be, auditioning for a role that's in a Martin Scorsese film, and I'm like, if I book this, I'll be working with Martin Scorsese. When can I ever say that? So sometimes the people that I would love to work with are the people who I least expect. So I'm just like, oh, great, super. And that way, I mean, the feeling is mutual, because the excitement builds, and like you get to know this person, and like, okay, I never thought I would work with this person, so I'm gonna investigate and do my research. So I mean, like, and yeah, there's just so many people. It's too numerous to say, but I think sometimes the people who I love to work with are the people who surprise me that I'm going to work with. And also, the interesting thing is that it's a very small world in this industry. So it's always interesting how something that you did before can be like can help you get another position or another opportunity to audition for another role, or for a show, or for a film, for someone that you would never think of auditioning for. I'm like, wow. Okay, so it's amazing how small the industry is, to where those connections can kind of build from, and then you can just see where your career takes you. I mean, like, I just sit back and enjoy the ride, to be honest with you. There's that old saying where you should never meet your heroes, or whatever it is, because, like, they're, like, people who I grew up that I loved were, like, Gene Kelly's and Fred Astaire's and Jerome Robbins and Bob Fosse's and such, and the list goes on and on and on of different actors and such. But the people, the real people who I have interacted with, I have a few, and like and they've helped me in different forms. Like when I was a kid and I was learning dance and just kind of understanding myself as a performer, I turned to a choreographer named Al Blackstone, who is also New Jersey based, and he's an Emmy-winning choreographer who was actually my choreographer when I was on So You Think You Can Dance. He helped me with a lot of my solos, and he actually really kind of introduced me to what I could be as a performer, as a musical theater performer, as a dancer. And then I have someone like a Jerry Zaks, who I've worked with a few times, who is also a New Jersey resident, from Patterson. And he's directed me a few times when I did Bronx Tale at Paper Mill Playhouse, and when I did Hello Dolly on Broadway and on tour as Barnaby Tucker. He taught me so many things about, just what to look out for, and what he looks out for as a director to his actors. And sometimes it would not even apply to me, it would apply to just the company at large, and it would just be like a master class. And I learned so much about timing, and as an actor, how to take on scene work and study in that regard. So many things he taught me. I mean, like jewels, like theatrical lessons. They were jewels that I will hold on to and cherish dearly. And then when I was a kid and I was doing Bye Bye Birdie, this was when I was at PV actually, I worked with Bill Irwin. Bill Irwin is a Tony-winning actor, and he is known as a physical comedian, as a physical artist. Uh, and he really helped me introduce me to physical humor in that sense, which I think I picked up a lot of stuff from him and applied to a lot of my stuff and performances at PV, which was really beneficial. Um, so I picked up a lot of things. Like those are three mentors, but I also had like a lot of teachers that I grew up as a dancer growing up. I had Kelly Allen, who was my dance director. I think Jen Shu was probably one who was really looking out for me, who was someone that I can always go to for advice and help me just with anything, especially when I was in high school and even today as a good pal today. And then I have a lot of teachers and such who I've learned so much from at Pace because I went to Pace University. So a lot of different people who have touched me deeply in different, not just like theatrical professional lessons, but life lessons as well. General advice for people who pursue this as a profession in any department or field, do your research. There's a lot of information to dive into, and the key thing is when it comes to research, it's one thing to understand the world that this information comes from, but then the key thing is to how it connects to what's going on today. And I think research like that is really beneficial to where you can learn from the past, you can understand, pieces of, different shows or different, films, actors, figures of all that kind. And somehow that will transmit and that will translate to what's going on today. And sometimes the contribution and that kind of like little education will only help the smallest little thing, but it's a big thing because that could be a gateway for anyone to unlock going into the next thing that they want to learn about, and then they refer back to research. So I always say that, and then I always say just be yourself. I think in those early days, you always want to. I mean, you always try to see who you want to copy, who you want to be. And I feel like the more that you do that, I feel like after a while you'll be like, I'm tired of being that person. I just want to be me. I just want to be me and know how I can be the role, but through me, through my own performance, through my own take, through my own vision as well, and just to kind of keep the creativity consistent. And especially during this time, it was important for me to stay invested and creative. And I kind of became a student again, where I had to kind of learn different things. And there was a time, even during the pandemic, where I was taking a songwriting class, and I had never taken a songwriting class. So the other thing is that to just try different things, be a sponge, and obviously your strengths, but the key thing is to know your weaknesses too, and to know how to seize the moment in those moments where you're like, I guess I'll go take a clogging class because I've never taken a clogging class before, but we'll just see how it goes. And the experience sometimes is not, and what you take from it, it's not necessarily maybe the technique or the education, but the feeling that you had in those environments and how that it can apply to what you do next. So there's a lot of different things that you pick up along the way and you just put in your back pocket. So those are kind of a couple of little life lesson things. Just kind of observe and just go for it, and just be yourself. The individuality is so key to being in this profession. And sometimes when I'm like, I guess I'll just go wing it, and then I just like, oh, I guess I botched that one up. I guess I won't be getting that one. So you see what the repercussions of that can be. So I feel like the more prepared that you are, the less conscious you are of going into it, and you don't have to stress about it. I think once an actor or performer, whoever behind the scenes absorbs what's going on, they are able to kind of commit all the way. The other thing is commitment as well. You don't want to go into something that's kind of like 50-50, just kind of like wishy-washy. Like, no, you commit all the way. Sometimes commitment is just being strong and wrong and not being the person for the job or the gig, but still being strong in your own take and committing to it. So and diving headfirst into it.